There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.
What's going on, everybody? Mike Macabre. Welcome to Bump in the Night Studios, where we not only talk monsters, we make monsters. And for today's video, we're going to be making a monster. Well, at the very least, we're going to be showing how to start to make a monster. And this video particularly is for anybody who has never ever in their life sculpted something and wants to learn how to sculpt a monster, man. And you should, man. So, there are multiple ways of doing this. In my personal opinion, this is the easiest, most efficient way to begin a monster sculpt, particularly if you never have before. We are going to show how to do that, how to do the proper measurements and all that kind of good stuff, because some of the best advice that I can give you if you are a beginner sculptor is to study anatomy, you guys. That's a mistake I made. The first monster I ever tried to sculpt, had no idea about anatomy at all. Thus, it took me longer to learn. So my best suggestion would be to, at least on a basic level, study anatomy some. Pull up pictures online of the human face, where everything's are. You will be surprised how many different bones and muscles, etc. are in the human face. The last thing you want to do is, work on a sculpt and you're near finish and you look at it like something's off and you realize the eyes are a little too high or the ears are a little too low. Trust me, I've done it several times. So this is a surefire way for that not to happen. So let's get into it, you guys. Let's make a monster. Alright, you guys, so hopefully everybody can see this well. All this is a basic bust here. Just a basic old plaster head. Now, you can buy like plastic ones online. They're rather inexpensive. I made this one myself. And I took the ears off and everything, and dug the eyes in deeper here for those indentations and things like that. But basically, you need a head to start sculpting on, and this does make it easier because you see where your nose is, your eyes are, and things of the nature. But still, when you put clay on top of this, you still got to do your measurements, and we are going to do that. So let's start off doing this. So the way I do it is I just take chunks of clay, maybe like yay big here, and just start putting it on your head here. Now, you don't want to exert too much pressure because you don't want it to be like really thin. You want about a ½ inch of clay at least going around the entire thing here. So you want to exert the same amount of pressure all over the whole thing when you're doing this. So that way you have around the same amount of clay all over the entire head. That is what you want. So pretty much this is what you're going to do. You're going to cover this entire head with, lumps of clay here. Now, some people do just take the block of clay, take a clay cutter, cut ½ inch and slap it on. You can do that. I recommend you don't do that. I feel like this is a better way, but you do what you're comfortable with. But I feel like this is a better way to make sure that the clay is even around the entire sculpt. And of course, what you can do is you can not put clay around the eyes so you know where your eyes go. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to leave those where the eyes go there. We're going to leave that open. So we know around where they go. We're still going to measure out though. We're still going to be sure. And we're going to do all our measurements like we are supposed to do. Well, once you're a super advanced sculptor, you don't have to do all the measurements and everything if you don't want to. A lot of advanced sculptors just start shaping out the features immediately. And what I mean by that is they'll go in and they'll just start shaping the nose right away and where they want this and that. And that's fine once you're advanced to do that. But if you're not super familiar with anatomy, trust me, this is the way to go. You want to do and make sure you have all your measurements so everything is in the correct place. Because like I said, the last thing you want to do is work on an entire sculpt and get like 80% of the way there or even more and realize that something is off. Because trust me, you guys, I've done it. I've done sculpts where I've been like 90% done, and then I look at it, I do some measurements, and I'm like, oh my god, like the ears are entirely too low, or the eyes are too high, because you'll be able to tell by looking at it. You'll be able to see that something is off. And last thing you want to do is put a bunch of hard work into something and then have to completely restart because you made a mistake early on in the process. It's not something that you want to do. So, just like so, keep putting clay all over everything. Cover the entire sculpt, and we're going to speed this up here so you guys don't have to watch 15-20 minutes of me just putting lumps of clay on everywhere. But that's pretty much what you do. You want to do this around the entire thing. Alright, you guys, so we got clay all over the whole sculpt here. So the next thing you want to do is you want to get a rake. It's a very simple tool. You can get this on Amazon or anywhere that sells sculpting supplies. It's a few bucks, but these are essential. You're going to want to get one of these. But yeah, so this one's cool. It has 3 different sides of, different shapes for raking, and then it has your flat edge. But basically what you want to do is you want to take your rake and you want to go over the entire sculpt, up, down, left, right, diagonal, every which way. And what this is going to do is it's going to blend all the clay together. It's going to pull clay into where there's not enough and push out where there's too much. So that's what you're going to do. And you don't want to do too much pressure, but you don't want to go too light either. The first layer of raking you want to do, you definitely want to exert a little bit more pressure. Like you'll see when you start to do it exactly how much pressure you should apply to get this to everything to go around evenly. So you guys can see there's lumps of clay. You just take that off, throw it right back in your bag. Yeah, but just pull every which way. You guys see how that's all, it's making it level now. It works beautifully. Like, this thing is definitely an essential tool for a sculptor. Is a big rake. You definitely want to have one of these rakes. Now usually I use a kidney rake, which it's pretty much self-explanatory. It's like this, but it's in the shape of a kidney. And I've got so many tools and stuff, I'm not sure where I put it, but this will work just fine for now. But I recommend getting a serrated kidney rake. You guys, that is the best kind of rake, in my opinion, that you can use for this. But this will work just fine. But yeah, like I said, you want to go over the whole entire thing, everywhere. That way, when you put your clay on, if there is certain parts you put too much on or certain parts you didn't put enough of on, this will fix that. And then once you're done doing this, you guys will see, you'll realize where you might have to apply a little bit of extra clay. Like where maybe there's some clay missing or some clay that's not quite as on the same level as the others that the rake couldn't take care of. You just add some more clay in there. But yeah, this works beautifully to blend all the clay together and get it all level. I do this every single time. Every sculpt I do. Even though I've been doing this for years. I still sculpt in this format. Like to where I put clay all over the sculpt and then I rake the whole thing. And then I go in and I do my measurements and then I start my sculpt. There's plenty of people who are advanced sculptors who do that. You know, that's how they learn, and that's how they do it every single time. And there's nothing wrong with that, because it's a surefire way that your sculpt is going to have the correct amount of clay all over the whole thing, and also that your measurements are all correct. So there's nothing wrong with doing it this way every single time, even if you are an advanced sculptor. And one big piece of advice that I can give anybody who is starting to sculpt: it is perfectly okay to be inspired by other artists' work. We all are. But one thing that's not okay to do, one thing I had to learn and teach myself, something that I wish somebody could have or would have told me when I started this, is that one thing you don't want to do is compare your work to somebody else's. That is the wrong thing to do, because what it's going to do is it's going to discourage you. You're going to, work on a sculpt, and then you're going to look at your favorite artist sculpts like, oh my God, why does mine look nothing like that? I suck compared to them, and I should quit. And you don't want to have that attitude, you guys. You don't want that, because you have to understand that the artists that you're inspired by have most likely been doing this for years. I noticed that myself, like the artists that super inspire me. I was doing that. I was looking at their work and then looking at my work like, oh my God, this isn't even a tenth as good as theirs. But then I thought to myself, well, hold on. Like, this guy's like in his mid to late 50s, or you know what I mean? Like, meaning he's probably been doing this since, he was a kid or 18 or whatever. You know what I mean? You can't compare yourself being a beginner artist to somebody who's been doing this 20, 30 years. You can't even compare your work. If you're just starting, you can't even compare your work to somebody who's been doing it for 2 years. If they've got that much experience on you, then you can't compare. Because I guarantee you, even all your favorite artists, the first time they sat down and sculpted something, they didn't sculpt perfection. No way. It's not that easy. Sculpting is a very, very difficult thing to do. You know what I mean? It's super fun, but it takes a lot of time to learn anatomy and learn how to make things look really cool. And, these things take time. Tell yourself in your brain, if you sit down and start sculpting, you tell yourself, it's going to take me quite a few years, not days or weeks, but years to get where I want to be, and that's okay. It's a commitment, whether you want to do this for fun, do this for a living, either way, it's going to take years for you to get where you are trying to be. I've been sculpting for about 5-6 years now, and trust me, every sculpt I do, I still learn something new. And my sculpts still aren't perfect. By any means, man. By any means. So we pretty much did everything we could do here with the big rake. So we're going to take that off. But you guys see how much more the clay is blended now? How it looks, it's so much more even, of course, aside from the lumps of clay you see, obviously. But everything is a lot more leveled out and a lot more even with each other. So the next thing I do after this step is I just take my thumb and just run it down. Make everything smooth. You just do this with your thumb. You don't have to exert a whole bunch of pressure, just enough to smooth it out. And do this in cross, going down the entire thing. Smooth everything out. And this will help you also to see if you need to add clay in certain spots or take some away. You'll be able to tell for sure after doing this step. Do 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 do. Yeah, it's definitely hard work, you guys, and it's time consuming. You know, particularly like I said, if you're a beginner and you don't know anything at all about anatomy, then oh yeah, this takes a lot of time. It's definitely a serious commitment. You know, sculpting is something that you need to do every single day, you know? And trust me, I know all about having a busy schedule and a busy life. I've got a wife, I've got 3 kids, I've got a regular 9 to 5, I've got my channel, I've got my artwork. So time management is definitely something you also have to learn in life, you know, especially if you have a big family and you have a job and all that. You've got to learn how to manage your time properly. So it's no shame if a day goes by and you just absolutely didn't really have time. You know, everybody has bad days, but you got to try your best, even if it's only, you know, a half an hour. Try your best to sculpt every single day. You know, it's muscle memory. Just like anything else, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. Practice makes perfect. All right. So, we got it mostly smoothed out here. But as you can see, there's certain spots where you can still kind of see rake marks. And if you look at it, you'll see that there's just little dips and indentations in certain places. And that is okay. And all we're going to do is, where you see those little dips and indentations, we're going to add clay to those parts. You know? Fairly simple to understand. Is where it looks, you know, you can tell where it looks like you need to add some more clay at. Just go ahead and do so. And then after we do this part, look, that definitely needs some more clay there. And after this part, what we're going to do is we're going to go all over the whole thing and rake it again, but we're going to use the smaller rake instead. And then of course, as you go, you can always, the beautiful thing about clay is you can add to and take away. So it's not like carving in stone. Like, that's serious sculpting, dude. That's for real sculpting, man. And it's definitely inspiring to look at some of those, you know, statues in Rome and everything. You know, guys way back then, man, chiseling amazing sculpts out of stone, dude. You can, oh man, just thinking about it is crazy, man. One little tap in the wrong place and your whole sculpt could be ruined. Like, oh my goodness. Definitely a comfort using clay. Because like I said, you can not only take away, but you can add to as well. So there we go. Got some clay where we feel we need it at. It's looking pretty good. And you can always add to later on, you know. This isn't like it, you know. That's the cool thing about this process. And trust me, you're going to make mistakes. You are going to make mistakes. You will learn along the way, though. You will get better. So now we're going to take our smaller rake and we're going to lightly go over everything. Very lightly. You're not exerting much pressure. Just enough amount of pressure to score the clay. Going to lightly go around the entire sculpt. And trust me, you guys, this is a little time consuming, but it's so worth it. So worth it in the long run, you guys. Because your clay is going to be nice and smooth and even throughout the entire sculpt. So you don't have to worry about whether or not there's enough clay or too much clay. It'll be nice and even after all this blending. This tool, this is honestly a great tool. honestly a great tool. It's like a must-have tool, you know. And as you start learning sculpting and everything, you'll learn what your favorite tools are, you know, because every sculptor is different. I mean, a lot of us do use the same type of tools, you know, loop tools and smoothing tools, etc. But you'll have, every sculptor has a favorite tool. They have their go-to tools. Like a lot of sculptors, even me, like I've probably got 100 different sculpting tools, if not more. But usually every sculpt I do, there's about 7 or 8 main tools that I use every single time. And I pretty much do an entire sculpt. For the most part, I do an entire sculpt with like 3-4 different tools. You know, and then there's a couple others I use here and there. But primarily, it's about 3 or 4 different tools that I do my entire sculpt with. And of course, most of it is with your hands, you know. Tools are pretty much just to help you get into smaller areas. Especially if you got big old fat hands like I do. You know, you definitely need something with a smaller surface to smooth things out and everything. My son is a goofball. I love my son so much. He's the best thing that ever happened to me. I love monsters. I love sculpting. But nothing compares to being a dad, man. It is the best feeling I ever had. My son is the most important person, thing, anything in my life. I love my son. Everything I do in life to better myself is for my son. My son makes me want to be a better man, and I am a better man because of him. Absolutely love being a father. Alright, there we go. So, now we've used the smaller rake around the entire thing, so we're kind of going to do the same thing we did before. Now, you don't necessarily have to go in and smooth everything out with your thumb. You can honestly leave it raked like this to do your measurements, because as you guys can see, this is pretty much blended well all the way around, you know. And it's actually easier when you add clay. When the clay is scored like this, the adding clay to it actually sticks better when the clay is scored. So you can leave it just like this, and you can start to do your measurements. So now we are going to start to do our... Alright, so we got everything raked out and blended in. So this is the most crucial part, you guys. If you are a beginner, this is the part that is most important, you guys. So we got where the eyes are here. So right here is the brow. So what you want to do is just slightly above your brow, on your brow, you want to draw in where your eyebrows will go. So about right there. So the next thing you want to do is turn it to the side, and where your eyebrow is, right at the brow, you want to just bring it that way across, and then boom, right there is where the top of your ear is going to go. So then we're going to repeat the step on the other side. Right where the brow goes, put in our line, and that is the top of your ear. So now, so we've got our eyes, we got our brow, our eyebrow, we got the tops of the ears. So now's the mouth. The mouth, the center of the mouth is directly in between the bottom of the nose and the chin. So the best thing you can do is, these dowel sticks come in so much handy. Put a dowel stick right there where the, you know, line it where the bottom of the chin is. And then you want to measure from the bottom of the dowel stick from the chin to the bottom of the nose. Should be approximately 3 inches. That is correct. So you, about 1.5 inches up, you want to draw your line for your mouth. So we got our mouth here. So yeah, bottom of the chin to bottom of the nose. The center is the opening or the center of the lips. So from there, what you want to do is you want to take your ruler, whatever you're using to measure with. I suggest a ruler. I mean, you could just use a dowel stick for this, but so the bottom of the nose, you want to measure from the bottom of the nose. That is where the bottom of your ear is going to be. So not pressed directly against the nose, just ever so slightly, just a teensy bit right below where the nose is. That's where you want the bottom, your line to be. So that is the measurement for the bottom of your ear. So we got the top of the ear, we got the bottom of the ear. Do the same thing on the other side. Right just below the bottom of the nose. Straight line. And there we go. Now we've got the bottom of our ear. So we've got the tops of the ear. We got the bottom of the ear. We got the brow. We got the eyebrow. We got where the eyes go. We got the nose. And we got the mouth. So now we've got all our features where they're supposed to go. Only one more thing. And that's to find exactly, where the ear starts and ends. So front to back of the ear. So the way you can do this is, or the best way, in my opinion, take a dowel stick and put it on the brow going this way. And press it in against the clay. Do the same thing with the back, the most widest part of the back of the head here. And then what you can do, just make sure they are level and coming straight out. You want to measure the distance on that. So it should be approximately 9 inches. And it is. Look at that. 9 inches. From front to back, 9 inches. So half of 9 inches is 4.5. So that is about right here. So that is center. So you draw your line down. Excuse me. And of course we left some clay opening here. We can fill that in with clay. So now we've got top of the ear, we've got bottom of the ear, and we've got center of the entire sculpt here. And so the center in between the top and bottom of the ear and where this line is where your ear hole is going to go. So let's go ahead and put some clay in there real quick just to show this. Honestly, I don't even know why I left clay opening there where the ear goes. It doesn't even make sense. Just me rushing. But that's fine. We got it. There we go. Alright. So yeah, we've got the bottom of our ear here. Top of our ear. And this line down. That is center from front to back. So the center of this line is going to be your ear hole. Let's grab one of these. So dead center of this, so about right here, that is going to be where the hole of the ear is. So now, usually it's approximately from the very corner of the eye. Not the actual eyelid, but kind of where the brow ends here. Usually, it's about 3 inches. So if you measure, like I said, not from the corner of the eye per se, but from where the brow stops at. When it comes over the actual eye socket, where the eye socket ends. It's usually approximately about 3 inches from there to there. So that is the front of your ear there. So there is the front of our ear. And then, so obviously your hole is going to be center. There's the back of our ear. So now we know where the ear is supposed to be. And we can take that and we can draw in that ear. And there is where your ear goes. So now we got everything. And of course, repeat on the other side. But this, you guys, I'm telling you, is the best way. Go ahead and just take the little bit of time out to do your measurements so you know where everything goes, so everything you know for sure is in the proper place, so you won't have to go back in and completely redo a whole part of the sculpt because something's not in the right place. Anatomy, 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 you guys. But once you get to this point, you know, study that, you know, study the different measurements. After a while, you'll remember, okay, bottom of the nose, bottom of the chin, that's the center of the mouth. The brow, over, that's the top of the ear. The bottom of the nose, over, that's the bottom of the ear. You know, after a while, you'll just remember these things, and then it'll be much easier for you to do all of your measurements. But this is key, you guys. If you're a beginner sculptor, take the time out to do your measurements. And from here on, you can start making your monster, whatever you're sculpting, you know. This is the starting point when you begin to put in your features and start your sculpt. That's what I wanted to get us to. I wanted to show you guys, for people out there who have never sculpted anything before, this is the best way, in my opinion, if you're a beginner, to start a sculpt. We got all our measurements. We know where everything is. Our clay is blended. It is ready to go. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please consider hitting the subscribe button. I super appreciate it. Here at Bump of the Night Studios, like I said, we don't only talk monsters, we make monsters. So if you love horror and you love the Boogeyman, please hit that button for me. I'd super appreciate it. Until next time, you guys, long live the Boogeyman. Y'all take care.